Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've got something pretty interesting, I think. We're doing a data-driven look, sort of a predictive analysis, for an upcoming MLS match.
That's right. CF Montreal versus Los Angeles FC. It's set for May 24th, 2025 at Saputo Stadium.
And this isn't just guesswork. We're digging into analysis from the Gambler's Ruin project, which uses their SmartBet AI technology.
Exactly. So this is all about the numbers, the data. We want to show you how these sophisticated predictions actually get made in sports today. It's kind of peeling back the curtain.
Yeah, our goal here isn't, to give betting tips or anything like that. It's more about understanding the process. What's the engine behind these forecasts? What factors are they considering?
Precisely. We're really exploring the how and the why. What leads the AI to its conclusion for this specific matchup?
Okay, before we get into the deep tech stuff, maybe a quick word on the conditions. What's the forecast look like?
Looks like cloudy skies. There's a chance of a shower. Temperature-wise, pretty cool, around 49 Fahrenheit, maybe 9 Celsius. Light wind, fairly humid.
You can imagine how that dampness or a bit of wind might play a role, right? Even if it's not explicitly in this AI model we're discussing.
Oh, absolutely. Real-world conditions always matter. Now, this AI does factor in injuries. Good news for CF Montreal. They seem to have a clean bill of health.
Okay.
But Los Angeles FC, they're missing a couple of players. Midfielder Ryan Raposo is out, ankle injury. And defender Lorenzo Della Valle has a knee injury.
Right, so those absences are definitely baked into the calculations we're about to discuss.
They are. The AI considers that personnel hit.
Okay, so let's get under the hood then. SmartBet AI, you said it's comprehensive for MLS. What's the core approach?
Well, it's what they call a hybrid model. It uses established statistical methods. There's something called Poisson regression involved.
Yeah.
But it blends that with modern machine learning.
Machine learning like?
Things like random forest, XGBoost, and even a type of neural network called a Multi-Layer Perceptron, or MLP. So it's attacking the prediction problem from different angles,
Right, not just relying on one single viewpoint. Makes sense. Let's start with that first one you mentioned, the bootstrapped Poisson models. What's that about?
Okay, so Poisson regression, at its core, is good for predicting counts, the number of times something happens. In soccer, that's typically goals.
Goals per team.
Exactly. And the bootstrap part just means they run this model many, many times on slightly different subsets of historical data. It helps get a better sense of the uncertainty and the likely range of goals.
Okay, so what's it predicting for this game?
For this specific match, the model expects, on average, about 1.13 goals for CF Montreal, and a bit higher for Los Angeles FC, around 1.72 goals.
Those are the averages, but I see these confidence intervals mentioned, like 0 to 4 for Montreal, 0 to 5 for LAFC. That seems, well, broad.
It does seem broad, and that's important. It shows that while 1.13 is the average expectation for Montreal, a score of 0, 1, 2, 3, or even 4 goals isn't outside the realm of strong possibility based on the data patterns. Same for LAFC up to 5. Football is variable, right?
Definitely. So how does it get more specific about scores?
That's where the next step comes in, Monte Carlo simulations. They basically use those goal probabilities from the Poisson model and simulate the match computationally, like 10,000 times.
Wow, 10,000 virtual games.
Yeah, and then they just count how often each specific scoreline occurs in those simulations. That gives you the probability percentages for scores like 1-0, 1-1, 0-2, and so on.
Okay, got it. Simulation helps narrow it down. Now, what about these dynamic ELO ratings? I know ELO from chess, similar idea.
Very similar concept, yes. ELO ratings measure team strength. The dynamic part means they change after every game. Win, lose, or draw, your rating adjusts based on the result, and crucially, based on how strong your opponent was.
So where do these two teams stand right now, ELO-wise?
Okay, CF Montreal is currently sitting at about 1,470. Los Angeles FC is higher, around 1,532.
So that's like a 60-point gap.
Roughly, yeah. And historically in MLS, a gap like that generally suggests the higher-rated team, in this case LAFC, has a better chance. It's a measure of their overall form and strength against the league.
Okay, that makes sense. A constantly updated power ranking, sort of. Now, what about contextual team features? What else goes into the mix?
This is where the AI looks beyond just the basic score predictions and overall strength. It considers things like recent form, often measured in points per game over the last few matches.
Right, how they're playing right now.
Exactly. And also expected goals, or XG, are they creating more or fewer chances than their actual goals suggest? Home versus away advantage is factored in, the injury count we mentioned. Goal efficiency, how good are they at actually converting chances? And interestingly, it even looks at the betting market odds, sort of using the wisdom of the crowd as another input.
So it's pulling in a whole bunch of different performance indicators.
Trying to get that full picture, yes.
Okay, then we get to the advanced classification models. This sounds like the heavy-duty machine learning part you mentioned earlier.
That's right. These models are trained specifically to predict the final outcome: home win, draw, or away win. SmartBet AI uses three main ones here.
Random forest, XGBoost, MLP.
Yep. Random forest is good with lots of factors. XGBoost is known for being very powerful. It learns sequentially. And the MLP is that neural network, good for finding complex patterns.
And I see a note about Smith's modi. What's that?
SMOD.
Yeah.
It's a technique used during the model training. Basically, in football data, draws and sometimes away wins happen less often than home wins historically. SMOD helps to artificially balance the training data so the models don't just get biased towards predicting the most frequent outcome all the time. It helps them learn the patterns for draws and away wins better.
Okay, smart. So what did these big ML models actually predict for Montreal versus LAFC?
Well, this is where it gets quite interesting. The random forest model. It predicted an away win for Los Angeles FC.
Okay, 1 for LAFC.
The XGBoost model also predicted an away win.
2 for LAFC.
And the MLP neural network. Same result, away win.
Wow. So all 3 of those machine learning classifiers independently landed on an LAFC victory.
Unanimously, yes. That's a pretty consistent signal coming from that side of the analysis.
Now, the report talks about precision recall F1 scores for these models. Can you give us the simple takeaway from those numbers?
Sure. Think of it like this. Precision asks, when the model predicts an away win, how often is it right? Recall asks, of all the actual away wins that happened in the past, how many did the model find? And the F1 score just tries to balance those two ideas.
Okay.
So the scores provided basically give you a sense of how reliable each model is at predicting each specific outcome: home win, draw, away win. The main point here is that these models generally have a decent track record, though no model is perfect, of course.
Right. And then there's one more, a stacked ensemble result. What's that doing?
Yeah, stacking or stacked ensembling is another technique. You basically take the predictions from your first set of models, the random forest, XGBoost, MLP in this case, and you feed those predictions into another machine learning model.
Like a meta model.
Exactly, a meta model. Its job is to learn how to best combine the insights from the individual models. Sometimes combining them intelligently leads to a more accurate overall prediction than any single model on its own.
So it's like getting a consensus from the committee of models. And what did the stacked models say?
It also predicted an away win for Los Angeles FC.
Okay, so that's really consistent across the board on the machine learning side. Every single one points to LAFC.
It appears so, based on this analysis, yes.
Now let's go back to those 10,000 simulations, the Monte Carlo results. What did they suggest were the most likely final scores?
Okay, looking at the probabilities from those simulations, the single most likely scoreline was 0-1, an away win for LAFC, with about an 11.2% chance. Close behind was 1-2, another LAFC win at about 10.7%. Then came a 1-1 draw, around 9.3%, and the fourth most likely was 0-2, again LAFC winning at about 8.4%.
Interesting. So the top 2 are tight LAFC wins, but a draw is right up there in the most likely individual scores.
It is. It highlights that while LAFC might be favored, a close game or a draw is certainly very plausible according to the simulations.
What about the overall chances? Not specific scores, but just win, draw, lose.
Okay, aggregating all those 10,000 simulated results, the overall probability calculated for a CF Montreal home win is about 25.5%.
Okay, about 1 in 4.
The probability of a draw came out at around 23.6%.
Also roughly 1 in 4.
And the probability of a Los Angeles FC away win is just over 50.8%.
Right, so just over half. That clearly aligns with what the classification models were saying, too. LAFC is the most probable outcome.
It does. The simulations and the direct classification models are telling a pretty similar story here.
So if we try to synthesize all of this, the Poisson goals, the ELO, the features, the different ML models, the simulations,
right,
what's the main takeaway message from the SmartBet AI?
The overwhelming signal, really, is that Los Angeles FC appears to have a significantly higher probability of winning this match compared to CF Montreal or draw.
And that conclusion is supported by multiple different analytical methods.
Yes. The consensus prediction from the random forest, the XGBoost, the MLP, and the stacked ensemble was an away win. Plus, the underlying goal prediction from the Poisson model gave LAFC a slight edge in expected goals scored. And the Monte Carlo simulations reflect that overall probability favoring LAFC too.
And this is important for us and for you listening. We absolutely have to remember these are probabilities, right? Not certainties.
Oh, absolutely critical, not guarantees at all. Those confidence intervals on the goal predictions showed a wide range of possible scores. And, the accuracy scores for the classification models, while good, aren't 100%.
Sport is unpredictable. That's part of the beauty of it.
Exactly. Upsets happen. The data gives us the most likely scenario based on past patterns, but the actual game unfolds in real time.
Okay, so summing up, this deep dive into the SmartBet AI analysis suggests that Los Angeles FC is statistically favored to win against CF Montreal on May 24th. This is based on a pretty complex blend of statistical modeling and advanced machine learning.
Yeah, we've seen how it pulls together everything from ELO ratings and expected goals to recent form, injuries, and even betting odds, running it all through these different algorithms to generate these probabilities.
It definitely gives you a different way to think about the match, doesn't it? Looking beyond just gut feelings and considering all these underlying data points.
It really does. And maybe that's some food for thought for you listening.
Hey,
How does knowing about this kind of analysis change how you might watch the game? Does understanding the probabilities shift your own expectations, or maybe just add another layer to appreciate as it unfolds?
yeah, it's fascinating to see how data is trying to, model the beautiful game, even while we know anything can happen on the pitch.
Definitely. It's that intersection of prediction and the inherent unpredictability that makes sports analytics so interesting.
Well, we hope this deep dive has given you some insight into that world, perhaps a new perspective to take into the Montreal LAFC match, or just a better understanding of how these predictions come about. We'll definitely be back with more deep dives into other interesting topics soon.